Tonight, before you go to sleep, remove your mattress. Then remove the pillow. Take away the blanket. The bed frame can go too. Now, remove the walls, the roof, the locked door, the glass windows, the curtains, the heater, the air conditioner, the mosquito screen, and the small glowing rectangle you plan to stare at for 40 minutes before finally admitting that you were tired. Place yourself directly on the ground. The soil is cold. A root is pressing into your ribs. Something with too many legs has just moved beneath your shoulder. Beyond the firelight, an animal makes a sound you cannot identify. It is either very small and harmless or large enough to make identification unnecessary. You close your eyes. Then you immediately open them again. This is supposedly bedtime. So how did ancient humans do this every night? Before mattresses, wooden frames, bedrooms, or permanent houses, where did people lie down? How did they stay warm? How did they avoid insects, snakes, rain, sharp stones, and predators? And perhaps most importantly, how did anyone fall asleep while fully aware that the thin wall protecting them from nature was nature? The answer is not that ancient humans were simply tougher and therefore did not care. A sharp rock hurts a prehistoric back for exactly the same reason it hurts yours. Cold removes heat from the human body, whether the person understands thermodynamics or not. Mosquitoes have never respected historical importance. Ancient humans needed comfort, warmth, safety, and rest just as much as we do. They simply created those things from different materials. And this is where the popular image gets something completely wrong. Before humans had furniture, they still had beds. The first bed was not an object. It was a carefully prepared place. A place selected for shelter, cleared of danger, covered with plants, protected by fire, shared with other people, and maintained using knowledge that had been accumulated over generations. Ancient humans did not merely lie down wherever exhaustion defeated them. They engineered the night. The process began before anyone collected a single blade of grass. First, the group had to choose where to sleep. This decision could determine whether everyone woke the next morning. A good sleeping site needed to be close enough to food and water to remain useful, but not so close to water that animals visited throughout the night. It needed protection from wind without trapping too much smoke. It needed dry ground, a flat surface, visibility, fuel for fire, and preferably no evidence that a large carnivore had recently described the same location as home. Caves seem like the obvious solution. They have walls, a roof, protection from rain, natural insulation, a dramatic entrance suitable for prehistoric property photography. But caves were not automatically safe. Some were damp, some flooded, some collected smoke, some contained unstable rock. Others were already occupied by bears, hyenas, big cats, snakes, bats, or several thousand insects who had not been informed that humans were moving in. A cave could be a shelter. It could also be a mouth with rocks around it. Ancient people needed to read the signs. Bones near the entrance. Tracks. Droppings. Scratches on walls. Strong animal smells. Freshly disturbed soil. A cave containing a convenient pile of dry leaves may appear comfortable until you realize that another creature arranged them first. Rock shelters offered another possibility. They provided overhead protection without completely enclosing the group. Open camps could also work when people constructed windbreaks, brush shelters, or simple huts from branches, grass, reeds, hides, and whatever local materials were available. There was no single prehistoric bedroom. Sleeping arrangements changed with climate, season, group size, available materials, and how long people expected to remain in one location. A group staying for one night might create something simple. A group returning repeatedly to the same camp could invest more effort. The first piece of sleep technology was not the bed. It was environmental judgment. Do not sleep in the path animals use to reach water. Do not camp beneath dead branches. Do not choose the lowest ground before a storm. Do not place the fire where smoke will spend the entire night entering your face. And never accept campsite advice from the person who says, it will probably be fine. Once a location was chosen, the ground had to be changed. Bare soil loses heat. Stone becomes cold. Uneven surfaces create pressure points. Moisture moves upward. Crawling insects approach from below. A human body placed directly on the ground is not simply uncomfortable. It is connected to a large surface that is constantly pulling away warmth. The solution was layering. Grass, reeds, leaves, small branches, bark, animal hides, dry plant bundles. These materials trapped air between the body and the ground. Air does not conduct heat as quickly as stone or wet soil. A thick layer of vegetation therefore acted as insulation. It also softened the surface. The goal was not luxury. No prehistoric person was comparing mattress firmness or requesting a free trial period. The goal was to prevent the earth from spending the entire night stealing body heat while a hidden stone introduced itself to the spine. And we have direct archaeological evidence that humans were constructing these sleeping surfaces far earlier than many people imagine. At Border Cave in southern Africa, researchers found traces of grass bedding dating back at least 200,000 years. People had placed bundles of broad-leafed grass toward the rear of the cave. This was not random vegetation blown inside by the wind. The plant material was arranged in areas used for sleeping and working. Even more interestingly, much of the grass had been placed over layers of ash. That detail changes everything. Ash creates a dry, fine surface that many crawling insects and parasites do not enjoy crossing. It can interfere with their movement and affect their bodies. By placing grass over ash, the people at Border Cave may have created a more comfortable surface while reducing contact with ticks, fleas, and other unwanted nighttime visitors. Someone had recognized that the remains of fire could improve sleep even after the flame was gone. That is not primitive behavior. That is pest management. 200,000 years ago, people were modifying the floor of a cave using plant material and combustion residue to create a cleaner, more comfortable living space. They did not have bed sheets. They had an insect control layer. Honestly, some modern accommodation has offered less. There was another clever part of the system. Old bedding appears to have been burned. Plant material used for sleeping eventually collects dirt, food remains, insects, parasites, and waste. If it is left in place, comfort gradually becomes a biological housing project. Burning the bedding destroys many pests. It clears the area. It creates a fresh layer of ash. Then new grass can be placed on top. The bed was not merely constructed. It was maintained. That means the people using it understood something about hygiene without knowing about bacteria, parasite life cycles, or insect anatomy. They observed a pattern. Old bedding became unpleasant. Burning it improved the area. The correct behavior could survive even when the invisible explanation remained unknown. Later evidence from Sibudu, another rock shelter in southern Africa, reveals an even more sophisticated approach. Around 77,000 years ago, people built bedding from sedges and other plants. On top, they placed aromatic leaves containing natural chemicals known to repel or harm insects. This was not simply a pile of comfortable vegetation. It was a chemically active sleeping surface. The leaves smelled strong because the plants produced defensive compounds. Those compounds may have discouraged mosquitoes, larvae, and other pests. Ancient humans were borrowing a plant's chemical defense system and installing it beneath themselves. The plant had evolved chemicals to resist insects. Humans noticed the effect and turned the plant into bedroom technology. Eventually, bedding at Sibudu was also burned, probably as part of cleaning and site maintenance. So the prehistoric sleeping routine may have looked something like this. Collect fresh vegetation. Select plants with useful properties. Build a thick layer. Sleep on it. Replace it when it becomes dirty. Burn the old material. Repeat. This is not someone collapsing on a cave floor. This is housekeeping. And once people began choosing particular plants, the bed became a container for environmental knowledge. Which grass remained soft after drying? Which leaves repelled insects? Which plants caused skin irritation? Which materials smoked too heavily? Which plants carried mites? Which ones stayed warm? A child could learn this simply by helping adults collect bedding. Take these leaves, not those. Cut the dry grass. Avoid the wet patch. Place the aromatic plants underneath. The technology could be passed on without writing. The mattress existed as a procedure stored inside the community, but a plant surface solved only the problem below the body. Ancient humans still needed something above and around them. Animal hides were valuable because fur traps air. A hide could serve as clothing during the day and insulation during the night. Several hides layered together could reduce heat loss. People might lie on one and pull another over themselves. In cold environments, this could be the difference between poor sleep and hypothermia. But hides were not perfect blankets. Fresh hides required processing. Untreated skin stiffens, rots, smells, and attracts attention from every nearby carnivore interested in investigating why part of dinner is being used as interior decoration. Scraping, drying, stretching, smoking, and working hides made them more useful. Once prepared, they became portable shelter. Clothing, bedding, wind protection, a bag, a covering for children. One object could perform several jobs because prehistoric people did not have the option of filling a closet with items that each performed one extremely specific task. What about pillows? Ancient humans probably did not require a rectangular fabric object filled with feathers to understand that supporting the head feels better. A bundle of grass could work. A folded hide. An arm. A piece of bark covered with soft material. A mound of dry earth. Modern observations among some hunter-gatherer communities show people using bundled materials or raised earth to support the head, while others use no pillow at all. This does not prove exactly what people did thousands of years ago, but it demonstrates that a pillow is a function before it is a product. Anything that lifts the head comfortably can become one. The first pillow may have been the least uncomfortable object within reach. Then there was fire. Fire is usually treated as the answer to every prehistoric problem. Cold? Fire. Predator? Fire. Darkness? Fire. Raw meat? Fire. Awkward social silence? Look at the fire. It was certainly powerful, but it was not a magical force field. A flame could provide heat, light, and smoke. It could discourage some animals and reduce insect activity, but a fire could also go out, spread into dry bedding, fill a shelter with smoke, burn sleeping people, or attract other humans who noticed the glow from a distance. Fire had to be positioned carefully, too far away, and it provided little warmth. Too close, and someone woke to discover that the evening's blanket had developed a flame. A small fire might need to be maintained throughout the night. Fuel had to be collected before dark. Large logs or slow-burning material could preserve heat for hours. Ash could cover glowing embers and keep them alive until morning. Someone waking during the night might add wood. Someone else might check that sparks had not reached the grass bedding. Keeping fire alive was part of keeping the camp alive. The flame also changed the emotional geography of darkness. Inside the light, people could see faces, tools, children, movement near the ground. Outside the light, the landscape became uncertain. Predators usually depend on surprise. A group of humans around fire was noisy, bright, alert, and difficult to approach without being detected. The fire announced that this was not an isolated sleeping animal. This was a group containing spears, stones, voices, and at least one person who was already awake because another person had been snoring for several hours. But humans did not rely on flame alone. They relied on each other. Sleeping in a group creates several advantages. More bodies produce warmth. People can huddle together during cold weather. Adults can place children toward the warmer and more protected center. The sick or injured can sleep near caregivers. A person on the outer edge may notice movement first. Not everyone falls asleep at exactly the same time. Not everyone wakes equally easily. Some people go to sleep early. Others remain awake talking. Infants wake. Parents move. Older adults may sleep more lightly or wake earlier. Someone needs to tend the fire. Someone gets up for reasons that human beings have been getting up during the night for as long as water has existed. The result is that a sleeping group may rarely become completely unconscious at the same moment. A study of Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania found a striking pattern. Across many nights of observation, one or more people were awake or in light sleep during almost the entire period between the first person falling asleep and the final person waking. Different age groups and different natural sleep schedules overlapped. No formal guard rotation was required. Variation itself created a sentinel-like effect. This does not prove that every ancient camp worked the same way. Modern hunter-gatherers are modern people with their own histories and cultures, not living fossils from prehistory. But the study demonstrates how a mixed-age human group can naturally produce nighttime vigilance. The young adult who stays awake late overlaps with the older person who wakes early. The parent wakes with the infant. The light sleeper responds to a sound. The fire tender moves. At nearly any moment, someone may be aware enough to notice a problem. The safest person in the camp may not have been the strongest. It may have been the one sleeping beside several generations of differently exhausted humans. This collective protection may have allowed people to sleep more deeply than an isolated individual could. Humans appear to have unusual sleep compared with other primates. We sleep for fewer total hours than many primates would be expected to sleep based on body size and ecology. Some researchers argue that human sleep became shorter but more intense, with more time spent in deeper stages and a relatively high proportion of rapid eye movement sleep. This remains an evolutionary hypothesis, because prehistoric sleep does not fossilize. Archaeologists occasionally find beds. They do not find the dreams. But moving from trees to the ground may have created both danger and opportunity. Other great apes often build sleeping platforms in trees. Trees reduce access for some predators and keep the sleeper away from many ground insects. But a branch moves. The platform has limited space. Falling remains an extremely negative sleep outcome. The ground provides a more stable surface. A stable surface may support deeper sleep, but only when danger is controlled. Fire, tools, shelters, group vigilance, and prepared bedding may have made secure ground sleep possible. In that sense, the human bedroom may have begun as a social defense system. The bed was soft because plants were gathered. The area was safe because people cooperated. The night was warmer because someone maintained the fire. The individual slept because the group did not completely disappear into sleep at once. Ancient sleep was therefore never only about the object beneath the body. It was about the entire system around it. Shelter, fire, bedding, knowledge, other humans, and timing. Another common assumption is that people without electric light went to sleep immediately at sunset and remained unconscious until sunrise. Studies of present-day communities living without electricity suggest that human sleep is not that simple. Some hunter-gatherer groups studied by researchers typically stayed awake for several hours after sunset. They talked, prepared food, worked near small fires, socialized, then slept through much of the colder portion of the night, and often woke near dawn. Average sleep duration in these studies was not the enormous 12-hour period sometimes imagined. It was closer to the amount many modern adults receive. Again, this does not give us a recording of Stone Age sleep. Climate, culture, health, danger, and season all matter. But it challenges the idea that darkness automatically meant immediate bedtime. The hours after sunset may have been some of the most socially important hours of the day. During daylight, people separated. Some gathered plants. Others hunted. Someone collected fuel. Someone repaired shelter. After dark, the group returned to the same circle. Food was distributed. Plans were discussed. Children listened. Stories were told. Knowledge moved between minds. The fire extended the day, but not in the modern sense of turning midnight into an opportunity to answer work messages. It created a limited, illuminated period in which the community could become whole again. Then people slept, not necessarily silently, not necessarily continuously, but inside a system they understood. Sleeping arrangements also changed dramatically across environments. In a warm tropical region, the greatest problems might be insects, humidity, rain, and heat. Bedding needed to remain dry. Smoke and aromatic plants could help reduce pests. People might prefer more ventilation and greater distance between bodies. In cold grasslands, heat became the central problem. Thicker plant layers, hides, enclosed shelters, and shared body warmth became more important. A group sleeping close together loses less heat than the same people sleeping separately. Each body warms the air around the others. Privacy is reduced. Survival is improved. Privacy can be reconsidered in spring. In desert environments, daytime heat gave way to cold nights. A sleeping site protected from wind mattered. The ground might release heat quickly after sunset. People needed insulation even when the day had been painfully hot. In wet regions, sleeping directly in a low area could invite water into the bed. A raised or well-drained site mattered. In areas containing snakes or dangerous insects, clearing vegetation around camp reduced hiding places. There was no universal prehistoric solution, because there was no universal prehistoric climate. The human advantage was flexibility. Grass where grass was available, reeds near wetlands, leaves in forests, hides in colder regions, brush, shelters in open land, caves when caves were useful, open air camps when they were not. A bed was built from the local environment. The knowledge required to make it comfortable traveled inside the people. We should also be honest about what ancient sleep probably felt like. It was not consistently peaceful. People were cold. Infants cried. Injuries hurt. Hunger interrupted rest. Parasites still reached the skin. Smoke entered eyes and lungs. Storms arrived. Animals moved nearby. Other human groups could be dangerous. The grass compressed. The hide shifted. Someone placed a knee into someone else's back. The invention of communal sleeping probably occurred at roughly the same time as the invention of waking up angry at the person beside you. But discomfort is relative. A person raised sleeping on layered grass does not compare it with memory foam. The body learns familiar surfaces. The sounds of the camp become normal. The fire cracks. People breathe. Someone moves. Insects call outside. The sleeper understands which sounds belong to safety and which sound means everyone should stand up immediately. Modern people often struggle to sleep in nature because every sound feels uncertain. Ancient people spent their lives learning the difference between harmless noise and approaching danger. A rustling mouse does not sound like a large animal. Wind does not move vegetation like footsteps do. A relaxed campfire does not sound like grass catching fire. Night knowledge reduces fear. The darkness remains dangerous, but it is no longer unreadable. That may be the deepest answer to how ancient humans slept without beds. They did not eliminate every threat. They turned unknown threats into familiar patterns. They learned where to sleep, what to place beneath the body, which plants to collect, how to use ash, how to position fire, when to replace bedding, how to arrange the group, which noises required attention, and how to pass those lessons to children. A safe night was built from hundreds of small decisions. Return now to the place where we began. You are still on the ground. There is no mattress, no pillow filled by a factory, no locked room, but now the site looks different. The group has chosen a dry position protected from the wind. Old vegetation has been cleared away. Ash covers parts of the surface. Fresh grass forms a thick, insulated layer. Aromatic leaves discourage insects. A hide rests over your body. The fire is far enough away not to ignite the bedding but close enough to provide warmth. Children sleep near the center. Adults lie around them. One person is still awake. Another will wake before that person falls asleep. The darkness beyond the camp remains real. So do the animals. The cold, the insects, the uncertainty. But you are not facing any of them alone. And suddenly, the ground no longer feels like bare ground. It feels like a bed. Not because it has legs, springs, fabric, or a brand name. Because humans have transformed a dangerous place into somewhere the body can safely surrender consciousness. That is what a bed has always been. Your modern bedroom is simply a stack of ancient solutions. The mattress separates you from the ground. The blanket traps warm air. The pillow supports the head. The walls block wind and rain. The window screen keeps out insects. The locked door replaces group vigilance. The heater replaces the fire. The alarm clock replaces the person who naturally wakes before dawn, although it performs the role with considerably less compassion. The materials changed. The purpose did not. Long before carpenters built frames or factories produced mattresses, ancient humans were already constructing sleep. They collected softness from plants, warmth from animals and fire, safety from shelter, protection from community, and knowledge from everyone who had survived the nights before them. The first bed was never just a place to lie down. It was proof that humans could take the most vulnerable part of the day and redesign it. Before we built bedrooms, we built safer ground. Before we closed our doors, we closed the circle around the fire. And before humans learned to sleep in beds, they learned to make the night feel less alone.